What was 5th October Revolution? Why is it also called Bulldozer Revolution? What was Otpor? There are many questions, and let's see the answers. How did it start? People in Serbia in 2000 were ready for a change. Many foreigners believe that NATO bombing in 1999 led to the regime change. This isn't true. The bombing ended in June 1999. Milosevic remained popular among his voters. Throughout the year 2000, opposition leaders toured Serb towns and villages. They spoke against Milosevic to attract undecided voters. They held huge public gatherings with slogan Gotov je, English, he's finished. 20 political parties and movements united to form DOS. DOS stands for Democratic Opposition of Serbia. How come there were 20 parties? Serbia is notorious for having too many political parties. We have over 100 registered political parties. Most of them have very limited number of voters. In such competition, it is hard for a party to shine. Milosevic's party, SPS, remained in power partially because the opposition was bickering. If opposition leaders worked together, Milosevic would have been defeated in the elections much sooner. Just to be clear, some opposition parties were much worse than SPS. Some far-right opposition parties believed Milosevic was too soft and weak. Milosevic was nationalist according to European standards, but he was moderate according to Serb standards. People often blamed others for things Milosevic did. People would often claim that Milosevic's wife forced him to make some decisions. All the hate was reserved for his wife Mirjana Markovic. She was described as Lady Macbeth. Mirjana Markovic had her own party called Yule. SPS and Yule were in coalition, working together. In 2000 there were rumors while Milosevic decided to have early elections. One gossip said that Mirjana went to Indian guru. He told her that Milosevic would win if the elections were in September 2000. Whatever the truth was, the elections were held in September 2000. Milosevic wanted to get his second term as president of Yugoslavia. Yugoslavia officially existed until 2003. Milosevic previously served 2 terms as president of Serbia. How is this possible? There were 3 presidents at the same time. Serbia had 1 president, Montenegro had 1 president, and Yugoslavia had 1 president. In theory, President of Yugoslavia was above presidents of Serbia and Montenegro. But in reality, Milosevic was seen as the leader even when he was president of Serbia. In September 2000, Milosevic was confident he would win. DOS had only 1 candidate, Vojislav Koštunica. Usually, every opposition party had their own presidential candidate. It was normal to see 10 or 15 candidates. Often no one would win in the first round. 2 candidates with most votes would advance to the second round. Those parties individually had a very limited number of voters. But together they had enough votes to defeat Milosevic. Koštunica wasn't a perfect candidate, but he was acceptable for all DOS members. Milosevic declared his victory in the elections. DOS called people to the streets. DOS declared the election results were false. Protests in Belgrade lasted from 29th September till 5th October. People from all parts of Serbia came to Belgrade. On 5th October, protesters attacked the parliament building. The building was looted and damaged in fire. Police had to retreat or risk actual civil war on the streets. Milosevic accepted his election defeat. The army wasn't ready to go against the protesters. Many people from the army and the police had family members among protesters. It was estimated that 1 million people protested. This number was later disputed. Some say there were 500,000 or 700,000. We will never know the exact number, but it was huge. It is amazing to think that a small country like Serbia could gather so many protesters. Some protesters drove heavy machinery. The man nicknamed Joe drove a bulldozer and attacked RTS building. RTS stands for Radio Television of Serbia. RTS was hated because of their support for Milosevic. Joe the bulldozer driver became one of the stars of demonstrations. In the later years, he often gave interviews. He died in 2020, aged 77. This means he was 57 when he drove the bulldozer. Demonstrators came from all spheres of society. There were teens, middle-aged, and elderly people. Otpor was a civic protest group. Otpor means resistance in English. They were famous for the clenched fist symbol. Otpor gathered younger generations. Most were high school students and university students. There were T-shirts with their symbol, posters, graffiti, stickers, badges. I had 3 problems with Otpor. Otpor had too much money for youth organization they claimed to be. Someone had to finance all those T-shirts. Otpor used underage kids to put posters and paint graffiti. The kids risked being beaten by the police. Graffiti on the buildings really annoy me. We have serious problem with graffiti in Belgrade. Flat owners are expected to clean the graffiti or they can be fined. I don't want to pay for someone else's scribbles. In September 2000, Belgrade was covered with Otpor symbols. Otpor was celebrated by foreigners. They received Free Your Mind award at the 2000 MTV Europe Music Awards. What does Otpor have to do with music? Things were getting strange. A few years later, the public learned that Otpor received funds from US government-affiliated organizations. Otpor members attended a seminar on nonviolent resistance in March 2000. Lecturer was retired US Army colonel who served in the Vietnam War. Otpor's image was ruined to a certain degree. People in Serbia had really bad opinion of US government. Many Otpor supporters believed that Otpor served its purpose and should vanish. But Otpor leadership had different ideas. In 2003, Otpor became a political party. They had poor results in the parliamentary elections, winning only 1.6% of votes. In 2004, Otpor member accused others of money embezzlement. Otpor was ruined. The remnants of Otpor merged into the Democratic Party. What is the legacy of 5th October Revolution? The legacy is sad and grim. In 2000, people hoped for a better future. Enthusiasm was in the air. DOS made cardinal mistakes. They did not ban SPS. They did not prosecute Milosevic's entourage. People close to Milosevic's regime made huge money and kept it. We were told all those people are criminals. Either DOS lied to us and those people weren't criminals, or DOS decided to let criminals go. Both possibilities are troubling. DOS disbanded in November 2003. It is a miracle they managed to stay together for more than 3 years. Those parties had different agendas in politics. In 2015, I read a newspaper article about former DOS leaders. Some were dead, others retired or were disgraced. It was one of the most depressive articles I ever read. Many DOS parties completely disappeared. In the end, the Democratic Party worked with SBS. Most people lost faith in the politics. Today, some people wonder if the whole revolution was pointless. I would say Milosevic had to be removed from power. But people who replaced him weren't great. Many changes in the society didn't bring better life. Young people decided to look for better life outside Serbia. In the 1990s, people left because of the war and poverty. But in 2000s, people left because of political bleakness. Former Otpor members became professional revolutionaries. Their names were mentioned in connections to color revolutions and Arab Spring. Color revolutions is a term used for protests in former communist countries. One example is Orange Revolution in Ukraine in 2004. Arab Spring was a series of protests, uprisings and rebellions in Arab countries. They happened between 2010 and 2012. As far as I can tell, color revolutions and Arab Spring failed to achieve all the goals they set. The same thing happened in Serbia. Milosevic was defeated, but other than that, the revolution was a huge disappointment. Today no one celebrates 5th October Revolution. The revolution is remembered as wasted opportunity.